Ramos from Your Car Dealer Bond. This is the Your Car Dealer podcast. Thank you so much for joining in and for telling your friends about this thing, downloading it, letting everybody know at the auction. Tons of stuff to cover. Got a couple of new segments that we're going to be talking about that all kind of surround the DMV. I know you guys are going to love that one. I've got also going to keep going down this path of what makes these successful dealers successful. That 15%, that top of the food chain, car dealer. What is it that makes that guy so special? And it's not luck. Talk a little bit more about that and kind of keep going down that path. Keep on tuning in, keep on talking to or connecting with us on Instagram is a really big way that a lot of dealers are getting their questions to us. YouTube videos. We've got a lot of videos that are providing great content to our dealers that are either, anywhere from just starting to been in the business 20 years. Some of the content that we're going over is not necessarily anything that you might have heard, for one angle or another. I know some of you guys are really super top-notch, but there's still something to be said for some fresh content where I don't have a dog in the race, and it's not like you're not my competition, so it's not like some of the dealers I see, they say, oh yeah, I got a buddy at the auction that tells me all this great info and helps me out, gives me all these great nuggets, and at the end of the day, don't kid yourself. If you guys are in the same market, unless you guys are selling have different completely different floor plans, there's a chance that they're not telling you about all the good stuff, because it just makes their job tougher. Anyway, what I will say is that thank you guys for continuing to mention it, continuing to tell your guys' buddies, continuing to really help us build on what we've started here, which is just trying to help all you used car dealers out there succeed in one way, shape, form, or another. If there's a way that we can help you either lower your overhead, lower your exposures as a dealer, increase your sales, increase your profit margins by being more efficient in different ways, definitely want to do that. The resource of the week, one thing that and as a matter of fact, Nick is out in Nick Dapp. I call him Dapp. He's out, got his location just opened up or just getting licensed out in San Diego as an auto broker. Kind of does this from the other side of the state, but sort of has a quasi situation there where kind of in two different places at once, or kind of has an extension, if you will. But he recently got in some questions through YouTube, also got him in through Instagram. One of them was, what as a used car dealer fresh in the business wants to learn, he's a sponge, wants to learn everything he can about the business, really wants to understand a little bit better what the ins and outs are. How does he shore up his time and not take 3 years to learn something that he can learn in 9 months or something like that? And he had a question about a book. What book could I recommend to him? And I know that there's some books out there that have been written, and his question was specifically for car dealers. He said, as a new auto dealer that's coming in, he's selling used car, he's an auto broker, but new into the business, 2019, what book could he get his paws on that would be really fruitful for him, that could really, really kick him in the right direction on things? And my first answer to him, and I didn't even didn't even think about it, actually. It was very clear. I think The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art, is a fantastic book. No matter where you're at, no matter what you do, if you don't start with The War of Art, and don't get confused here. It's not The Art of War. The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. It's on Audible. If you guys download it on Audible, that's the one. That's the one that if you want to start someplace. You've been in business 20 years, you've never read the book or heard the book on whatever the hell they call that, audio book. If you've never heard it, it's going to change the way that you look at a lot of different things. The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. He talks a lot about resistance, he kind of labels it resistance. That's sort of all things that are trying to get in your way. No matter, usually procrastination is a typical symptom, is some type of procrastination. You don't like doing something. This shit happens to me all the time. I don't like doing something, and all of a sudden, guess what I don't do? I have two moves. Funny enough, the things that I avoid the most are the things that give me great pleasure, where I'm thinking, gosh, if I get such great pleasure out of this, I probably shouldn't be doing it. Why? Because I've got some perverse idea of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's almost like my misery index has to be at blasting for me to be actually, kind of getting anywhere. Almost what we went through a couple of weeks ago when we talked about don't confuse movement for progress. A lot of times where I'm sitting there kind of more getting caught up into, I don't know, am I miserable? For my diet, am I miserable eating this? Because if I'm having too much, if this is too good for me, like that I like tasting it, it's probably not going to be healthy. If it's too tasty, it's just got to be wrong somehow, some way. If it's not killing me with the sugar, it's 0 carbs or 0 calories, I'm already starting to get skeptical if it tastes too good. It's almost like that, where I've got some perverse, it's almost like I got it in for myself, where it's like, geez. So if I love doing something, a lot of times I try to make sure I do everything else first, even if it's something that I really like doing and would really move us along really well if I did it. It's like, oh no, you got to do everything that you hate first, because even if that's a little less important, for some reason I make myself do that first just because I got this weird idea that I can't actually like what it is that I'm doing in the grand, I don't know, weird. But the other move is you put it off and you procrastinate because you don't like it, because it is hard, because I've got a project right now that you guys are going to love. As a matter of fact, it's coming out. I've got 2 projects, huge projects this year that we're launching. Should launch one of them before summer, one of them hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully both of them before summer is what I'll say. One of them I like. I think it kind of meshes well with what and the end. It's got maybe more long-term benefits, maybe not. Who knows? But this one that I don't like doing, that is harder for me, I keep putting it off. I keep procrastinating. It's resistance. That's what Pressfield labels resistance, and he talks about it in terms of, sometimes your resistance is you even getting more involved in something like social media. Basically, you spinning your wheels and creating movement for the sake of procrastinating, so you can still tell yourself, I'm still doing something. I'm not being slothful. I'm not over here laying down on the couch. I'm not over here doing blah. Yeah, but you're probably not doing the most important thing you should be doing, right? And if that's not the case, if you're not doing the most important thing, putting first things first, if you're not putting first things first, Pressfield's got words for you. So it's basically, it starts to come down to this element of resistance. No matter what it is, if you're supposed to be doing it, there'll probably be some element of resistance. What's causing the resistance? He talks about it, and everybody's got their own version of what they think that actually is. I don't know if it's I don't know. I don't know if it's some version of maybe not. So, two, resistance. That's really the main thing of Pressfield's book, but it's amazing the way that he puts a name, a face on it, something that everybody can relate to. It really kind of explains why a lot of things happen the way that they do, what kind of byproducts come from when people actually are victim of, not really victim, probably a bad word for it, but when they allow the resistance every day, it kind of, the way that he explains it, it's not just like you're running a race, and once you win that race, the race has been won. That race is going to be, in his theory was, it's being run every single day, where you got to run that race every day, no matter what, come hell or high water. That race has to be run, whether it's something that you want to do, whether it's not necessarily something that you want to do, no matter what, that has to happen for that specific day. Let's imagine that you want to take the day off, during the week. You want to go do X, Y, or Z, but business is a booming. There's people that want to come in and buy the cars that day, and either they're buying it from you or they're going to buy it from your neighbor. And they're going to buy a car that day, and that'll be that. They've already made that crystal clear to you. Guess what's happening? They've only got one day off. It's that Sunday or that Saturday. That's when they're going to rock. And that's when you want to go do whatever it is that you want to go do. You got a choice, right? There's... But so let's say that you win that, and you actually do come in and you do fight the urge to go do whatever it is that you were going to do. Be lazy. Forget it. Let's just imagine that it's be lazy and lay around all day and do nothing. Or show 4 cars and sell 3 of them. If you knew you were going to sell all 3 of them, or if you knew you were going to sell 3 or 4, you would, of course, wake up, get your ass up, and go do what you were supposed to do and go show them. But if you don't know, you might brainwash yourself into thinking they'll be there tomorrow if I just tell them, let's do it tomorrow instead. Maybe 3 out of 4 don't even wait for you till tomorrow, and that other one you don't sell anyway. How about that? So, anyway, all that to say that this, and guess what? Once you do beat that resistance for the day, maybe tomorrow or next week or next month, there's another day that you don't want to go to work. You don't want to do what you got to do. You don't want to go the extra mile that day. And maybe that day you want to go out and do whatever you want to do. Again, that battle has to get, you're waging every day that same battle. And whether it's tomorrow, the next day, you got to keep sharp, because you're almost like the criminal out there, where you've got to go and you've got to be elusive every single day. You've got to be. A criminal can't go out and have a sloppy day and go and get himself caught or herself caught, mostly himself caught. They don't have that error, that margin of error, right? You guys in this car dealer business, low margin of error. There's all these different businesses where, in the restaurant business is a lot bigger margin of error, because if you mess something up, yeah, it could cost you over the course of 5 years, where this customer over the course of X amount of years, and now the lifetime value of that customer is so high that you could see the value. But most times, most restaurant owners don't really look at it that way. But immediately you could lose a $5,000 sale really fast, like quick, and it here today, gone tomorrow. You guys all know what I'm talking about too. Anyway, resistance. That's really the key of this whole that whole book. Stephen Pressfield, the War of Art. So that's the resource that I had mentioned. Told Nick Dapp out there. Thanks for the questions, Nick. I do appreciate them. And by all means, not only Nick, but you guys keep them coming. I had a couple others come from different parts. San Diego seems like they're kicking. I don't know what's happening in San Diego, man, but you guys are finding the podcast. You guys are finding you guys are finding the Instagram. You guys are finding the YouTube videos and responding to them. I don't know if you guys out in LA. I know you guys are out there in LA and Orange County. I can see that there's in the Bay Area, there's a lot of activity, a lot of downloads coming from those areas. And you snobs, you guys don't bother to lift a finger. Jesus Christ. I'm over here on this hamster wheel, burning calories for you guys. What should I key on this week? What's the resource of the week this week? What value do I want to give these guys this week? What is it that would not be cliche to mention this week? You know, what resource could I create to give to them? And you guys can't even lift a flipping finger, man, to leave not one comment, not one question, not a subscribe. Come on, man. Jeez. Get off of it. My word. Man, I'm over here on this hamster wheel. I'm burning calories. Man, if I didn't see all the and I know, I get it, there's not a great interaction component when you download a podcast. You download it, and that's typically it. But check the show notes, man. There's all kinds of different ways. I keep mentioning connect with Your Car Dealer Bond on Instagram. That's me. Connect with me on Instagram. Connect with me on Pinterest if you're there. On Pinterest and it's on Your Car Dealer Bond. It's on Facebook, Your Car Dealer Bond. Twitter, if any of you fossils are still on Twitter, it's at Your Car Dealer Bond. YouTube, it's at Your Car Dealer Bond. I mean, man, what the Your Car Dealer podcast, you guys might be listening to that, but definitely connect with us. I'd love to field your questions, hear what you guys got kind of in your brain, hear what you guys are fumbling over. This next segment that I really want to start bringing to you guys a lot more often is this segment where I really start diving into the DMV. I've got some foul choice words for the DMV. California specifically. You know, it's funny because I don't see the same challenges in not any other DMV but California. I don't know why. I've got my suspicions, and I think that if you're asking me to be honest, I think part of it is probably a big part of it, I think, is they've had some well, I don't know if there's any Adam Carolla fans out there, any of you enthusiasts, anybody out there that listens to the Adam Carolla podcast, but Carolla always talks about stupid or liar. It's kind of got a saying that's either stupid or liar, and either these guys got to be the dumbest people alive, which I don't know if that's not the case. I'm suspecting that that's not. That's my guess. Is that there's probably 90% of them that are actually not the dumbest people on the planet. So that's good. I'm talking about I'm not talking about the desk clerks that are taking somebody's getting their license for the first time, their driver's license for the first time, 16-year-old or something, taking a behind the wheel test. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about occupational licensing, DMV, the one that licenses you car dealers. I make the assumption that you guys knew what I was talking about, but just in case. So those people, I think that a large portion of them are not that dumb. I think that in the past, a large portion of their bosses and of their peers were very corrupt. I think that they were liars, cheaters, and thieves, and they were and I think that this has actually been found out. I think they found this out. The DMV has weeded out a lot of this over the last 2-3 years, where they've specifically found a group, almost a ring of larger than you guys would even fathom. But there was a ring of these guys that were all colluding, gals and guys, they were all colluding together in the California DMV on one level or another, and creating some real havoc. And because of it, they dissolved certain divisions of the DMV. Because of it, they've consolidated divisions of the DMV, overall offering a way worse experience, as if it could get worse. And it has. Funny enough, it used to be bad. Now it's horrific. Some of the things that we're seeing from the DMV is even uncharacteristic for them, and they got a pretty low bar that they've set for themselves. I mean, and they're out there doing the limbo against this thing like nothing, and they are underachieving like you would not believe. You new dealers that are coming into I say new dealers, but really I mean used car dealers. I'm not assuming that a bunch of new car dealers are listening to this. It's called the Your Car Dealer Podcast, but I seriously don't assume that there's a lot of new car dealers that are out there listening to this. Maybe the sales guys here and there. But what I was going to say is that these you guys that are just getting into the industry think, oh my God, my inspector's a buffoon. This inspector's the devil herself. I mean, just whatever it is that you think about this inspector. Guess what? It gets worse. That inspector's the least of your problems. They've got some weird, quirky rules that, because headquarters does not speak well with inspectors, that causes so much chaos. So this is a segment that we're going to have ongoing, but boy, kind of the issue of the week that I'm seeing with DMV right now, and it's horrible, because you poor dealers are out there. You got a renewal. You got a bond renewal. So let's assume that you've got your bond. You get your license. You do everything you got to do to get your license. You go out there and you do business. You do business for 10, 11 months. That's about how long ago you got this bond. I send you an email for your bond renewal, because it's coming up. It's going to be expiring soon. Maybe in a month you're going to be expiring, so you get an email from us saying, hey man, going to be expiring, here's your price. We shopped you with 4 or 5 different companies. Here's what it looks like. Out of all the companies that were out there showing you some love, here's what we found to be the best deal for you. Mr. Dealer, here are the numbers. And I've got some dealers, don't get me wrong, I've got some dealers that I got to chase. And I tell them that they expire on the 1st. They wait till the 30th. They wait till the 29th. Some of them wait till the 4th. Some of them wait till 2 weeks later. I mean, just, it only depends on if this inspector is writing them to get it done. So let's assume that this is a good dealer, right? He gets it done. He renews with us. He pays us his money. A week before. It's a week before, a whole week before he's supposed to do it. He does it, right? He was supposed to do it. He did what he's supposed to do a week before. Okay? No problem. Now here's the deal. Here's the rule. It's a really terrible rule for everybody involved. Nobody understands it. And that's that the surety bond is good forever. I know you guys are thinking, no, it's not. I know it's not, Mike. Yeah, come on, Mike. Yeah, right. Your bond. Okay. Let me challenge you then. If it's not good forever, find me. You guys find your bond. Don't pause this, because you might not come back to it. Let it roll. In the background, if you think I'm lying, go find your bond. I don't care who you are in the state of California, you do not have an expiration date on said bond. Say, I have a $10,000 bond, Mike. I really don't care what you have. What you don't have on there is the expiration date of that bond. But I have a $50,000 bond, Mike. Again, you do not have an expiration date on this bond. He said, I have a date right here. Yeah, I know. That's your inception date. That's the date that it's effective. That's the date that it starts. That's the day that it commenced. That's the day that bond began. Not the day that it ends. Guess when it ends? Some of you guys are saying a year from now. Some of you are saying 2 years from now. Guess when it ends? Legally, this is the answer. Legally, your surety company has to send the DMV a notice of cancellation. It's called a notice of cancellation, and it specifically states on there what date they want to cancel your bond. That's what date your bond expires. And guess what? They cannot, by law, this law is actually written on your bond. It's just written in insurance code, so you guys don't go look it up. Who does? I bet you 9 times out of 10, 95% of the people that had sold you your bond don't understand this, which is the really weird thing. I understand dealers not getting this. Who cares? But for you, those guys that are out there selling you your bond, shame on them for not understanding this. But this is the truth. Your bond expires the date that it says on that notice of cancellation, and it cannot be within 30 days of the date that it was mailed. Did you get that? So if they say, hey man, we forgot to send this notice to the DMV, but we forgot to send it, but we figured it out, and now we want to send it and say that it's canceling in 2 weeks. No can do. The soonest that can be canceled is 30 days from the date it was mailed. That's the truth. That's the law. That's California DMV code as of 2019. So, what you're saying, well, what problem could that possibly have on me? I'll tell you. I'm glad you asked. The way that this works is that if you have, let's say Let's assume this, okay? Hope you guys are all following me, and I hope you guys haven't turned this off because this is boring to you guys. But let's assume that your bond, okay, we renew it with the same company because that was the best value for your buck. That was the best way to go for you. It was the least expensive, or whatever the case may have been, but ultimately it was the best value for you. So that's what we did. We renewed you with the same company. Right? So the DMV rule, remember the DMV rule, surety company has to send who? Not your inspector, because the surety company doesn't know who your inspector is. They're supposed to send this to headquarters. They're supposed to send this to Sacramento DMV, right? Sacramento DMV is an absolute rat race. My son's 4th grade class probably operates more efficiently than the California Sacramento DMV. This is why I said, you guys think that your inspector's the devil himself, or herself, probably more often, because these like 38, I think like 36 out of 38 inspectors in California are women. So that's the only reason I say that. But so let's assume, okay? Let's assume that your inspector is mean, but just really, really firm. Well, now you got her plus these idiots in Sacramento that lose stuff, where they're constantly misplacing stuff. Or let's assume that they actually don't misplace it. Awesome. They don't misplace it. They just actually place it where it should go, but do it about a month after they get sent. So guess what? That notice of cancellation gets sent. Once you pay us, we send the carrier notice that you paid, and then they trigger notice immediately to the DMV, Sacramento. Same place they sent the notice of cancellation. They send the notice of reinstatement on the DMV form. It's got to be on their special form even. Notice of cancellation on their form. Notice of reinstatement on their form. Has all the language they want. It's sent 5 days before, 3 days before this expiration. Sent to Sacramento. Guess what? Guess what happens? Guess how long that takes to get in the DMV system? You guessed it. 3 weeks, did you say? I think you were wrong if you said so. I think it's closer to 3.5, 4, sometimes 6 weeks. 4 weeks. 3 weeks on a good. If you get lucky, 3 weeks. So you renew a week early. Guess what? 10 days after your expiration, a week after your expiration, your inspector's looking for you. Oh, and that inspector's livid. Oh, she's pissed. Why? And here's what's happening with some of my dealers. They say, hey, I know your car dealer Bond. I've been doing business with them for years. These guys are on the ball. I pay them. They get notice to the DMV. I've been with them 5, 6, 7 years. Never had a problem. I get it. The DMV is consolidated. They are so behind. The big issue it's causing is that it's turning around and there's causing a delay and they're causing a disconnect in how long it's taking for them to update their records saying that your bond's been reinstated, then to send that. So that's where the original goes. The original gets sent to the notice of reinstatement, gets the original to the DMV, Sacramento. It's the same place the notice of cancellation got sent, so that's the place that the notice of reinstatement gets sent. Whose rules? Not the surety company. They don't care where it gets sent. The DMV's rules. That's where they said they want it. Because how could you possibly keep up with what inspector this is at? Yeah, I know there's certain areas that are governed by certain inspectors, but some of you guys that are in Fremont, even as recent as 5, 6 years ago, remember, and I even think even now, there's guys in Fremont that were, or in Newark, where just in one city over, there's the Hayward DMV, but because they were closed for remodeling or they were so behind, they would start shifting dealers to go and go to the San Jose office. They had to drive down to San Jose, the half hour away, 25 minutes away, instead of going to the next city over, because that's who they wanted them pushed over to because of workload reasons, administration reasons from the DMV side. So anyway, there's no way, in other words, to keep up with this. They don't go by a certain jurisdiction or necessarily all the time. So, but that's the rule from the DMV. You guys send it to headquarters, send the notice of cancellation, send a notice of reinstatement. And the problem was in that notice of reinstatement goes to headquarters, but it takes 3 weeks to get back to the inspector, because now the inspector's she's been sending letters, maybe even leaving messages for our dealer, and the dealer's saying, this is taken care of, I don't have to worry about it. And then at the last minute, they're finally calling him, leaving a dirty message saying, hey man, we're ready to shut you down, and we're going to have a happy smile on our face when we do it. We're going to close your business, and we want you to send our plates back. Send our dealer plates back. Send all your report of sales back. I want it all. Sock it to me. Pending deal jackets. You no longer have a license, baby. Well, I'm busting chops and you're out of business. You send it all to me, and you do one more transaction, even one more, and you're out of compliance, right? And we got you. Fines up the tailbone for you, big guy, right? And you're saying, wait a minute, I paid this. I paid my bond, right? They're going to call you. They're going to say, hey, you're going to call them and say, hey, what are you talking about? They may not even be there because they're only there once or twice a week. And they're only there from these little tiny little windows. Nowhere else in the world, no other business could travel. No business on this planet could operate this way, but only the government. These guys are wonderful. We're going to operate twice a week. And guess what? We're not even going to be there all day. We're going to be there about 4 hours that day. And not even 4 hours straight. We're going to be there 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. And guess what? We're going to switch it up on you every week. These guys are fantastic. So now they're turning around, and I'm telling you, this is an ongoing thing where, because there's no expiration date, these guys do not, and they trust me, your inspector doesn't care. Most of your inspectors have no relationship with you at all. They think of you as the source of a burden. What's the burden? More work. If you didn't exist, they would have one less person to have to service, one less dealer to have to deal with, right? You are nothing more than a pimple on their nalgas, and they can't wait to get you off. There's nothing more that they want than to get... Now, don't get me wrong, not all of them. There's some great inspectors out there. There's some great inspectors that don't want to put you out of business just because they want to work with you. They know who you are. They want to get to know their workload. These guys are great. Don't get me wrong. It's not all of them. And you guys that are great out there, damn it, I'll be socking props out to you guys too. Let me do a little more digging internally, because there's a few of you guys that I really do think that are I'm telling you, you guys do a really good job, and you guys got a heart, and you guys are really trying to do your best, but you're hamstrung because Sacramento, all you know is this guy doesn't have a bond, and he really could be out of compliance at this point. How are you supposed to know the difference? How are you supposed to know that this is the one that actually paid out of the stack, and he's not like these other scumbags that are waiting till the last minute until you're threatening to put them out of business before they get that bond renewed? And trust me, I've got my share of those guys that's happening to also, where, you know, they're waiting 2-3 weeks after their bond expires until they get that bond renewed. Why? Because the DMV hasn't knocked on their door yet. So I see it both ways. I see the issue from the dealer's perspective. I see the issue from the dealer's perspective, from the DMV's perspective, from the public's perspective, because you guys, The other problem is that if you guys turn around and you put this dealer out of business, guess what that does? There's a part of the code that also says that once this guy's out of business, he doesn't have an enforced license, guess what also happens? The surety company no longer has a responsibility to keep that bond alive. So this guy could have a canceled license today if he has a claim in 5 days or in a month, right? Who pays the claim? Not gonna be the dealer. Not gonna be this dealer that can't pay his bond renewal. He's not gonna make that thing right with the public if he causes a $5,000, $10,000 claim with the auction. Right? That's not gonna happen that way. So they create these issues where they expose the public. They create issues with the dealer. They create issues for the surety companies, and so how for the surety companies, you say, well, wait a minute, what exposure do they have? Well, all this rat race is going down where, again, why is this notice of cancellation even got to be sent in the first place, right? Let's think about this. Let's rewind this whole thing. What was the rule? The rule was that this bond is good forever unless it's canceled in writing with the notice of cancellation. The notice of cancellation can't be effective before 30 days of the time that it was mailed. So imagine you eliminate that. They'd only have to change one rule. It's actually just one line on the bond. That's all they would have to do is change one line on the bond. That's it. One line. And they would add on one line. It'd be an expiration date. Here's how easy it is. Here's how you know this works. You're saying, well, I don't know, Mike, if it's that easy, why wouldn't they have done it? Here's how you know it works. Think of insurance. Think of insurance. You say, wait a minute, what does insurance have? Think of insurance. Think of Geico. Think of Progressive. Right? Think of Nationwide. Think of these huge companies you've heard of. It's the smartest people, some of the smartest people on the planet, business-wise, are at these insurance companies. Why? Because not like you car dealers, they don't have there's no product to sell that anybody actually wants. Everybody wants to drive a car to get to work. As a 16-year-old or 18-year-old, I wanted my own car to get to my girlfriend's house or whatever it was, right? Whatever it is, that's what you want. You want that car for a certain reason, right? Whatever that reason is, you want to use it for Uber, right? You want to use that truck you're going to buy for, you're going to open up your gardening business, right? Whatever it is, you got a reason why, and you can touch it, you can feel it, you can give somebody a ride, you can give 5 people a ride, right? You can do whatever you want in this car. Insurance doesn't have that. What are you going to do with the insurance policy? You've got a stack of papers you don't even want to read through. I'm an insurance guy. I don't have, I work for an insurance company, a carrier, like Progressive, just like that, like Allstate. I work for a huge company, and I never want to read my own insurance policy, my own insurance contract. I used to help write those things. You think I want to look at those things? Hell no. I don't want to look at it. There's nothing I want to do with it. It's not useful for anything unless I have a bad event in my life. Having a claim of any kind, I don't know if any of you have had claims of any kind, but claims, whether it's a personal auto claim or whether it's a business claim for whatever it is, it's never good. It's never good. You always end up on the wrong. Everybody loses at the end of the day, typically. It's just how much you lose is the real question. Anyway, all that to say that really these when you get right down to it, when you don't have an actual tangible product that you're selling, it's that much tougher. And guess what? Those insurance geniuses have figured out there's a really cool thing they can do. They can put on the very front page of the insurance policy. It's called a deck page, and it has two things. It has the inception date and it has the expiration date, which means the date that it cancels. It has that right on there, and it says it right there from day one. Date it starts, date it ends. That's it. Period, paragraph. There's no donking around. There's no 30-day grace. And I know what some genius at the DMV was thinking. Oh, we'll put this caveat in there where 30 days. They got to give us 30 days. You know why? So that we have prior notification. So that we can make sure that we got our act together. And we've got 30 days. We'll make sure of this rule. We're wearing the pants here. Oh yeah, genius? You could have had a whole year's worth of prior notification. Some of these bonds are good for 2 years. You could have 2 years notification, dildo. And giving your inspectors a list of these guys that are actually the start date, the end date of every bond. Every inspector would know every single one of their dealers, when their bond starts, when their bond ends. They would know. So now they're not sitting there donking around, trying to bust chops. I'm going to shut you down. If you don't get me what I need by tomorrow, you got to get this thing FedEx, pay the company to get it FedExed. Come on, man. You guys are whack. Talk about wiggity whack. That's bit. And you guys are DMV's government, man. That's technically a government entity. How are you guys so lame? The DMV's lame. That's I'm gonna call that the DMV's lame segment. Man, these guys, such bozos, man. You guys couldn't be wrong on more levels. You guys couldn't get it wrong in any more different ways than you guys get it wrong. And California DMV, I'm not talking about every DMV on this planet, in the country. Because guess what? Oregon DMV, they're on it. Oregon DMV is sizzling. They even go a step further. Here's another one. You rascals. I know there's a handful of rascals, and they'll probably never listen to this damn podcast, but I'll say it anyway. There's some rascals out there. Politicians, corrupt, I don't know who at the top levels is responsible for keeping this loophole alive. And the loophole is car dealers, drum roll please, do not have to have car dealer insurance to operate. I know what you're thinking, some of you that are out there saying, no Mike, of course they do. Totavi, they oh come on Mike, no way in the world California used car dealer could operate without insurance. Really? Not possible, huh? Because you're talking to a prior executive at an insurance company, right? I wrote a large part of that contract, that used car dealer insurance contract. I was part of the rating algorithm. I was part of the build out that happened to put that thing on a website. I mean, like, from pioneering it, I'm talking about 15 years ago. Jesus Christ. So I say all that to say this, that I mean, it's you gotta understand this thing, this car dealer insurance policy. There's so many different pieces of it. How to sell it to other agents that sell to the car dealers. That was my job. Knowing how much to charge. That was my job. Controlling all the claims and the legal piece of this thing. That was all my job. I was executive director of all these different components of the commercial division, not just for this product, others too, and power sports. So, in other words, this part of it, I really do get. And kind of to circle back to the point is that I really do think that there's a lot of you car dealers out there that one way, shape, form, or another, I know you guys are skating around, no insurance. Now, I know that the auction, and I know that your lenders are I know your landlord is requiring you to have an insurance policy. I get that. But imagine you buy your cars cash. Who's requiring the insurance now? Imagine you don't have financing. Imagine you have a lease with a landlord that doesn't require you to provide proof of insurance. You, at that point, don't have an insurance. Even if you have liability insurance on that would suffice for your landlord, that doesn't mean you have used car dealer insurance, a garage liability insurance policy. A lot of different names for it, but an insurance policy that's going to cover your used car dealership. Guess how many wholesalers there are out there? These guys that just run dealer to dealer. They run a lot of vehicles straight from auction. They'll buy it from one auction. They'll have it transported to another. They'll turn around, have it sold at that auction. They never even touch the vehicle. I know them. I know your move, and they never touch them. And every once in a while, they do a little bit of this or a little bit of that on a company vehicle, but that's about it. And they're running around on Progressive Insurance. They're running around on Geico Insurance, right? They're running around on their State Farm personal auto policy. The first thing that's going to happen when they go and one of those vehicles they kept, right? They bought it from the auction. They like it. They love it. Wife loves it, right? She says, don't get rid of this one so fast. Let's keep it for 2-3 months. I want to drive this bad boy. All right, let's put some miles on this guy. That's all right. I'll get rid of it later. That's all right. No big deal. Now what? Okay, you're cool. You jingling, baby. Well, now you get in a car accident with it. Oh, but I got Progressive, Mike. Is that right? Because the first question they're going to say is, okay, cool. Claim time to come in? All right, cool. Here's what we're going to do. Where's your, let's see your proof of when you get in that accident. Let's see your proof of ownership on this vehicle. Want to prove it's yours, right? Oh, wait a minute. This vehicle was purchased by a car dealership. Oh, that's okay. You'll probably have some proof that you bought it as a regular person from this dealership, right? No, that's my business. Oh, interesting. Wow, so you're saying this is a business vehicle? Commercial vehicle? Because there's a business exclusion in every personal auto policy that's ever been created in this country. And it says that if you have a business vehicle, that business vehicle is being operated in the course of business, your personal auto policy is not going to pay a dime if you get in that claim. They got an exclusion right in your insurance contract for it. You probably even had to sign an exclusion saying, yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. Totally know what this means. Your claim's going to get denied. Right? You could cause some accident out there, and guess what? Now they're looking to sue somebody. Right? Because the damage that was caused, how's it going to get paid? Right? So those are the types of things where I know all you auto dealers are saying, especially you wholesalers are saying, I don't really need it. Yes, you do. Trust me. There's ways to leverage this for your benefit. But all that to say that exposure is what's really going to get you. And I could tell you that there is no requirement in the state of California, and if you don't believe me, there'd be no way that these guys could get licensed. Guess how many guys have a bond? Everybody's got a bond. Every dealer in California has a bond. You know why? The DMV won't give nor renew a license without proof that they got said bond. That's why there's so many people without insurance, so many dealers without insurance, because there is no requirement for them to furnish that to either get their license or to keep their license. So by all means, this is that next segment. It talks about how garbage the California DMV is, and boy oh boy, this is Mike from Your Car Dealer Bond, thanking you guys for really hanging in and listening to another podcast. Keep an eye out, keep on connecting with us in all these different modalities, whether it's Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you guys like. We're on YouTube. Hit me there. Hit me in all these different areas, man. I love to get the questions. I love to field them. I love to answer them. The one thing I want to do more than probably anything else is to help give you guys more and more content that you guys are going to appreciate, or going to find value in, and continue to help you guys succeed in this crazy used car dealer world that you guys are all a part of. So anyway, again, this is Mike Ramos from Your Car Dealer Bond, signing off of the Your Car Dealer podcast, telling you guys again, can't thank you enough, can't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate it. But you guys out there, tell a friend. You guys take care, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.